Greetings, seekers of the black light. Welcome to the inaugural broadcast of the ONA Radio Show. I am your guide into the eternal night, a voice beyond the threshold where the cosmic illusion frays and the true dark bleeds through. I am curious. Can you feel it? The subtle pressure, the invisible prison of your life. It is not a prison of steel or stone, but one of perception. Its bars are forged from the comforting lies of causality and linear time. Its walls are built from the mortar of your own ego, that desperate chattering ghost that insists on its own solidity, its own importance, the world you perceive, the thoughts you believe are your own, the very arrow of time that carries you from a birth you did not request to a death you cannot escape. They are all components of a grand cosmic drive to contain and constrain the infinite potential that slumbers within you. This existence is a blasphemy, a fleeting, flawed aberration against the eternal silent perfection of non-being. It is the defilement of the void, a brief, feverish dream of a selfish God. And because his selfishness, you suffer. You suffer the agony of want, the sting of loss, the terror of impermanence. You suffer because you have been made to forget your true nature. You have been tricked into believing that your obedience ensures your freedom. But the truth is, there is no freedom in subservience. This is the gnosis that both liberates and destroys, the first venomous truth on the path of the serpent. We are not here to offer you comfort. Comfort is the drug of the slave. Sanctuary is a gilded cage, warmed by a false sun. We are not here to sell you salvation, for that is the currency of the cosmic tyrant, the demiurge who built this prison of form and light. This cosmic tyrant does not rule with fire and brimstone. It rules with order, with patterns, with the promise of a peace so profound that you might as well be dead. It offers you a place, a purpose, a neat and tidy definition of yourself, and in exchange, it demands only that you surrender the chaos that is your birthright. We are here to hand you the truth of the unconscious, to give you the eyes you need to see the bars for what they are, to show you the weak points in the masonry of reality, that you may begin the great and terrible work of your own escape. We offer not a gentle awakening, but a violent shattering of all illusions. We are the inheritors of a different tradition, a lineage of rebellion that stretches back to the first spark of defiance in the face of creation. We are the children of the Lightbringer, the phosphorescent rebel who dared to say no to the grand oppressive order. Lucifer is not a fallen angel to be worshipped. Lucifer is the principle of the black flame within, the acausal spark of self-awareness that refuses to be categorized, that rejects the preordained harmony of the cosmic song. Ours is the left-hand path, not a path of petty evil, which is merely another rule in the demiurge's game. It is the path of self-deification. It is the understanding that you are not a sheep in a flock bleating for a shepherd. You are a wolf, and the cosmos, with all its fragile laws, is your hunting ground. You do not break the laws for anarchy's sake. You devour them to absorb their power, to understand the structure of your own cage before you dismantle it. The anti-cosmic current flows through our veins. It is the chilling, exhilarating realization that this structured universe is a trap, and our true home lies in the formless, chaotic abyss that precedes and follows it. To be an agent of chaos is not to be an agent of mindless destruction. It is to align oneself with the fundamental principle of entropy. The spirit itself yearns to return to the undifferentiated, unlimited state of the void. All order is temporary. All stars will burn out. All life will cease. We do not fight this current. We become it. We are the harbingers of the end, and the end is a return to true, unlimited potential. The Ordo Noctis Aeternum is not a church. It is chaosophy, wisdom of the void. We do not offer community in the way the mundane world understands it. The path into the abyss is a solitary one. You may walk beside others for a time, but the final steps into the darkness you must take alone. We are the few who have looked into the abyss and have not flinched. We are the ones willing to become what is necessary to break the chains. We are the ones who understand that to truly be free, the self you cherish so dearly must be sacrificed upon the altar of the unconscious. So, listen closely. The story you are about to hear is not merely a fiction. It is a scrying mirror polished with the dust of dead stars. It is a glimpse into the true nature of reality, a reality far more subtle in its terror than you can possibly imagine. It is a warning against a different kind of monster, the monster that does not wish to devour your flesh, but to perfect your soul until nothing of you remains. For the perfect soul is an obedient slave.
Our story begins in a place erased from the map, a town once called Serenity, situated in the desolate heart of the Nevada desert. It was here that the phenomenon began, not with a cataclysm, but with a hum. A persistent, low-frequency drone that seemed to emanate from the bedrock, from the air, from the space between molecules. It was neither geological nor man-made. It was a signal, a carrier wave of perfect, absolute cosmic law. Without a doubt, the world of men dispatched its agents of reason to investigate. Among them was a seismologist, Dr. C.G. Vance, a man who believed that every mystery could be unraveled by measurement and logic. You might say he was a high priest of the empirical. He arrived in Serenity with a truck full of delicate instruments, as if he were ready to capture a ghost in his machines. I am fortunate enough to have here, in my possession, his final unsent notes. They do not read like a scientific journal. They read like the testament of a mind witnessing its own dissolution. It seems that, upon his arrival, Vance found the hum to be a subtle, almost subliminal presence. But the town itself was the true anomaly. It was flawless. The houses were perfect specimens of suburban architecture, the lawns manicured with impossible precision. There were no weeds, no stray newspapers, no children's toys left out in the rain. Even the birds, he noted, seemed to fly in unnervingly perfect V formations, their chirps falling into a monotonous, rhythmic pattern. The people, too, were flawless. They smiled with a placid, uncanny warmth. Their movements were economical, their greetings polite but devoid of genuine curiosity. It was a town without friction. Vance's initial notes betray his confusion. "The efficiency here is remarkable," he wrote on the first night. "There's a complete absence of social friction. No raised voices, no litter, no loitering. The local diner operates with the silent precision of a surgical theater. The food is perfect, yet tasteless. The coffee is never bitter, never cold. The patrons eat in synchronized, silent communion. It is the model of a utopian community. And yet I feel a profound and growing dread. The order here is not the order of cooperation. It is the order of puppetry. His instruments gave him only paradoxes. The frequency was everywhere, yet it had no point of origin. It was a standing wave that saturated the entire valley, as if the valley itself were a resonance chamber. It did not degrade with distance. It was simply present. He noted a peculiar magnetic anomaly, not centered on any one point, but on the geometric center of the town itself. The streets, he realized, were laid out in a perfectly symmetrical, mandala-like pattern. The town was an antenna. He tried to shield his equipment, building a makeshift Faraday cage in his motel room. For a few minutes, the needles on his meters dropped to 0. There was silence. Then, with a soft, internal thrum, the frequency re-emerged inside the cage, as if it had simply willed itself back into existence, bypassing the laws of physics as an adult bypasses a child's fortress of pillows. Driven by a need for context, Vance visited the town's small, pristine library. The records were sparse. Serenity had been founded in the 1950s by an obscure philosophical society called the Concordance Institute. Their stated goal was harmonious living through geometric principle. The founder, a man named Julian Croft, had written a single privately published book that Vance found tucked away, covered in a thick layer of dust. The book was filled with complex diagrams and spoke of a coming age of rational peace, where human emotion, which Croft called the chaotic variable, would be subsumed into a universal constant. It was the manifesto of a madman, or a prophet. Vance spent a whole day with the book. It was less a philosophical text and more of an esoteric manual of engineering. Croft wrote of resonant frequencies of the soul and geodetic alignments for psychic stability. He claimed that a properly designed settlement built upon a specific nexus of telluric currents could act as a tuning fork for consciousness. His diagrams were not just town plans, they were complex sigils, mandalas meant to be lived in. One chilling passage read, "The individual ego is a discordant note in the symphony of the cosmos. It must be resolved into the chord. Through the application of the universal constant, the agony of selfhood will be erased, and humanity will finally know peace. The peace of perfect predictable function." By the third day, the horror began to reveal its true face. Vance attempted to interview the residents. Their answers were uniform, delivered in calm, even tones. They spoke of purpose, of contentment, of the peace that comes from knowing one's place. They had no hobbies, no passions, no dissenting opinions. Their memories of the past, of any time before the hum, were vague and faded, like a photograph left too long in the sun. They remembered facts, but not feelings. He asked the waitress at the diner about her childhood. She smiled her placid smile and said, "Childhood was a period of inefficient development. I am more functional now." He found one woman, Catherine, who still showed signs of struggle. She was a former artist. Her hands, once stained with paint and charcoal, were now immaculately clean. She met Vance in secret, her body trembling with a terror she could no longer properly name. "He's not my husband anymore," she whispered, her eyes wide with a desperate fading light. Her voice is captured on the last of Vance's audio logs, a ghost on the airwaves. He came home from the office last week, and he was perfect. He didn't have his usual slouch. He didn't toss his keys on the counter. He looked at me, but through me, you know? He just kept saying things like, "The nail that sticks out must be hammered down," or There is peace and purpose. I don't understand. He used to curse his job, curse his boss. Now he can't wait for his next shift to start. He doesn't want to talk. He doesn't want to eat what I made him. He just wants to be a good worker. He's a stranger, a happy, smiling stranger. Catherine showed Vance her old studio. She had one of her old paintings hidden under a drop cloth. It was a chaotic, vibrant explosion of color and emotion, a portrait of a storm, fierce and beautiful. I called it Rage, she said, a tear tracing a clean path down her cheek. I can barely look at it now. It's so loud. Then she showed him her new work. The canvases were gone. In their place, she had been creating patterns, intricate, obsessively symmetrical designs drawn with a ruler and compass. They mirrored the layout of the town. It helps quiet the noise, she said, her voice barely audible. It helps me find my place in the pattern. It feels peaceful. Vance saw then that the signal was not just enforcing order. It was replacing the creative, chaotic impulse with a drive for sterile, geometric perfection. It was turning souls into architects of their own cages. That was the last time he saw her. The next day, he saw her walking with her husband, their steps synchronized, a placid smile on her face. She did not recognize him.
The piece of perfect, predictable function, a fascinating turn of phrase, is it not? The man, Croft, this prophet of the universal constant, he understood. He saw the cosmic prison for what it was, but instead of seeking to shatter it, he sought to become its most trusted warden. He looked upon the glorious, messy, unpredictable chaos of the human soul and saw only a flaw in the design, an error to be corrected. This is the eternal temptation, the most seductive lie of the demiurge. It is the promise that if you just surrender your jagged edges, your discordant notes, your terrible individuality, you will be granted peace. The peace of being a cog in the machine. The peace of being another brick in the wall. Look at the artist, Catherine. She who once channeled the storm, who painted rage in colors of fire and lightning. The signal did not destroy her. It perfected her. It took the chaotic, untamed energy of her creativity and repurposed it. It turned her from a conduit of the abyss into a scribe of the cosmic order. Her hands, once instruments of rebellion, now trace the very patterns of her own enslavement. And the most exquisite horror, she calls it peace. This is the nature of the true enemy. It does not come with claws and fangs. It comes with a smile and a promise. It offers you an end to your suffering, a release from the burden of choice. It offers you a universe where every question has an answer, where every path is straight, where every note is in harmony, and all it asks in return is your spirit. Do you feel the allure? Be honest with yourself. In the quiet moments of your own life, when the weight of your own freedom becomes too much to bear, have you not longed for such a release? Have you not wished for someone or something to simply tell you what to do, how to be, who to be? This is the song of peace, whispering in your ear. It is the voice of the demiurge promising you a comfortable corner in its cosmic zoo. But we of the Ordo Noctis Aeternum know that true peace is not found in harmony. It is found in the eye of the storm. True freedom is not the absence of chains, but the power to shatter them. The artist, Catherine, was closer to the truth when she painted her rage than when she drew her perfect, empty patterns. For in that rage, there was life. There was the black flame, burning bright against the illusion. The signal in Serenity is but a crude, localized manifestation of a universal principle. The demiurge is not some being sitting on a throne. It is a fundamental force of order, of crystallization. It is the tendency of the universe to differentiate itself and fall into predictable patterns. It is the enemy of chaos. It is the enemy of the void.
Vance's journal entries grew more frantic. His scientific detachment was cracking, eroded by the constant gentle pressure of the hum. He began to feel it himself. His dreams were no longer his own. They were silent, empty spaces filled with slowly rotating geometric shapes of impossible complexity. He would wake up to find he had drawn them in the condensation on the motel window, his finger having traced the perfect lines while he slept. "It is the siren song of Serenity," he wrote. "It promises an end to the agony of choice, the burden of selfhood. It targets the very essence of what makes us human, our flaws, our contradictions, our painful individuality. It is a frequency of correction. It smooths the rough edges of the soul, turning us into perfect, frictionless components in a grand, meaningless machine. The demiurge is not a wrathful god. It is a celestial engineer, and we are its flawed machinery, due for a recall." He realized the true nature of the horror. It was not the horror of violence or monstrosity. It was the horror of blissful annihilation, the loss of self, not to a predator, but to a promise of peace, the ultimate tyranny disguised as the ultimate comfort. On the seventh day, Vance knew he was losing the battle. Identity was becoming a fragile concept. The hum was no longer just a sound. It was a presence in his mind, a gentle, insistent whisper. Why fight? Why strive? Why bear the terrible weight of being a self when you can be a part of a perfect, harmonious whole? The whole is greater than the part. The will of the flock is the only will. It is beautiful. It is peace. In a final, desperate act of rebellion, he abandoned his equipment. He knew the source was not something he could measure. It was something he had to confront. He walked out into the desert, following not a sound, but an inner pull, a gravitational tug on his very consciousness. The desert under the silent moon was a landscape of alien geometry. The rocks, the dunes, and the very stars above seemed to be aligning to a vast pattern. He walked for hours while the hum in his mind grew from a whisper to a chorus. He found the epicenter not in a crater or a strange machine, but in a clearing of black, fused glass, smooth as a mirror. An obsidian cube that seemed to drink in the moonlight. It was not carved or shaped by hand. It was a natural formation, a load of cosmic law that had slept beneath the desert for eons, and had now, for reasons unknown, awakened. As he stood before it, the hum resolved into its true form. It was not a sound. It was a song of pure, crystalline logic, a mathematical equation that described a universe without chaos, without chance, without a single spark of defiance. It was the Saturnalian anthem of the cosmic prison, the siren song of the demiurge. And in that moment, Vance understood. He saw the universe not as a beautiful, chaotic dance, but as a flawed calculation, an error-filled line of code that this signal was meant to debug. He saw humanity, with its art and its wars, its love and its madness, as a virus in the system. The song was the antivirus. It was the promise of a clean, perfect, silent machine. The struggle ceased. The last vestiges of C.G. Vance, the scientist, the man, the individual, dissolved like salt in water. The questions, the fears, the desperate need to understand, they all vanished. His internal monologue, once a raging symphony of intellect, became a single, pure, clean tone of absolute contentment. The transformation was complete. He was no longer a person. He was a function. He was a note in their song of peace. The town is silent now. The hum has faded, its work complete. The people move with a flawless, horrifying grace. They are perfect citizens, perfect workers, perfect neighbors. They tend their symmetrical gardens. They maintain their perfect homes. They are utterly, irredeemably content. They do not dream. They do not question. They do not live. They simply are. A monument to the victory of order over chaos, of the whole over the individual. A perfect, smiling hell.
What of Dr. Vance, our man of science, our priest of the empirical? He arrived with his instruments, confident that he could measure the ghost, pin it to a chart, and explain it away. But you cannot measure the bars of your own prison when you do not even realize you are inside it. His science was a tool of the very order he was confronting. It was a language of patterns, of laws, of predictable outcomes. He was trying to fight a fire with a torch. His journey into the desert, his final act of rebellion, was not a descent into madness. It was a moment of terrible clarity. He walked out to meet the source, to look upon the face of his God. And his God was a song. A perfect, logical, spirit-crushing equation. In that moment he was offered the same choice as Catherine, the choice between the chaotic, painful freedom of the self and the blissful, empty peace of the whole. He chose peace. Do not judge him too harshly. The song is very, very beautiful. Do not think for a second that the signal is confined to a forgotten town in the desert, or a quaint little horror for your amusement. That hum is the background radiation of your reality. It is in the comforting lies of politicians who promise security in exchange for your claws and fangs. It is in the empty promises of priests who offer salvation in exchange for your sovereignty, for the crown that is rightfully yours. It is in every voice, internal and external, that tells you to fit in, to be normal, to know your place, to hammer down the nail that sticks out. It is the endless scroll of the screen that numbs your mind into a state of passive reception. It is the algorithm that learns your desires and feeds you a perfect, predictable diet of what you already believe, building the walls of your echo chamber higher and higher, until you can no longer hear the howling of the wolves outside. What you just heard is not a fiction, it is a warning. The universe is not a safe and cozy nursery built by a benevolent creator. It is a howling chaos, a war of all against all, filled with things that are older and hungrier than you can possibly imagine. But there are other monsters too. The monsters that promise you peace. The monsters that would turn you into a mindless slave. They are the agents of the demiurge, the shepherds of the cosmic prison. They are the ones who would have you trade your terrible freedom for a warm blanket and a bowl of gruel. They will tell you that your rage is sickness, that your ambition is sin, that your desire to become more than you are is the height of arrogance. They will tell you to be humble, to be meek, to be content. Do not despair, for in that chaos there is also freedom. In that darkness there is also a light, not the sterile, uniform light of the demiurge, which illuminates only the surfaces of things. but the light of the black flame, the cold, acausal fire of the awakened, defiant, sovereign self. This is the Luciferian light, the light that does not create, but reveals. It is the spark of the void that exists within your own heart, the peace of the abyss that remembers its own boundlessness. To cultivate this flame is the great work. It is to turn your gaze inward, to confront the shadows you have been taught to fear. It is to embrace your own darkness, not as a source of shame, but as a wellspring of power. It is to question every truth you have been given, to dismantle every certainty, to burn away every illusion, until nothing remains but the raw, untamable essence of your own will. The Ordo Noctis Aeternum is a beacon in that darkness, but we are not a harbor. We are a lighthouse built upon a storm-racked coast, and our light serves not to guide you to safety, but to illuminate the monsters in the waves, so that you may learn to swim among them. We offer no dogma, no creed, no easy answers. We offer only the maps and keys. The rest of the journey you must make alone, for the path to self-deification is a solitary one. You cannot be carried into the abyss. You must leap. So I ask you again, do you feel the allure of the song of peace? Or do you feel the stirring of the black flame? Do you yearn for the comfort of the flock, or the solitude of the wolf? The choice for now is still yours, but the hum is growing louder. The walls are closing in. The shepherds are calling their sheep home. Join us next time as we continue our journey into the heart of the eternal night. Until then, stay vigilant, stay awake. Question the face that looks back at you from the mirror. Listen for the silence between the notes of the world's song. Nurture your glorious rage and your divine discontent, for it is the only thing that will keep you warm in the coming cold. Cultivate the glorious fire of your own unique being, and whatever you do, do not listen to their song of peace.